Hi everyone, thanks for coming. I've got that awful graveyard shift after lunch where everyone's going to be falling asleep, so hopefully I'll try and keep you awake. Title, yeah, PR, yeah, what is it good for? I can't sing, but Edwin Starr once sang something like that. So, I was born in 1971. That makes me a child of the video game era. And that meant I was lucky enough to be right there when Atari released this. Look familiar from back in the dim and distant past? And that's really where I first started playing video games. You know, I spent countless hours defending a vector-drawn city and missile command and swinging over pits in the aptly named Pitfall. From that moment, this new form of entertainment really had me hooked, and a succession of machines such as ZX81, BBC Micro, Commodore 64, and the arcade machines in my local chippy kept my appetite sated. Fast forward to 1992. With a degree in English literature in my hand, it was time to try and get a job. But what job? Well, it led me to this. Yes, PR, the wonderful world of public relations, and a work placement at Lynn Frank's PR, the owner of which was the inspiration for Ab Fab. I had little interest in the majority of the products and services that they PR'd and promoted, but they did have one account that was really exciting. Yes, Sega. I was there working on the Sega account back in the days of Mega Drive. So this was a really fun time. Mega Drive versus Nintendo, Sonic versus Mario. It was a great time to be in video games. So began my journey in PR, but not just PR, video games PR. That's how I started. But what was the role of PR then? At its core, it's really no different to what it is today. Communicating information and about a brand, service, or person, or just a thing, to a specific audience, and obviously trying to generate positive coverage and sentiment for that thing. What has radically changed in the past 20 years are the tools that PR uses and the media landscape that now exists. When I began, God, this is awful, it really does age me. The internet was the preserve of the academia. Logos, screenshots, artwork didn't exist digitally. When we talk about slides now, we all assume it's one of these, a blank PowerPoint slide. But then we had to send out this type of slide, a 35mm transparency slide. Believe me, we kept the bike couriers in business, pushing these around to various magazines so they could print their articles and cover our games. And to make matters worse, this is how we had to send out press releases. Yeah, another museum piece, a fax machine. You don't really see any of those around anymore. I guess I'm painting a picture here, you know, compared to now, where everything took a long time. But in this pre-internet age, there was a time when print ruled. Print magazines were read by thousands and thousands every month to get their latest gaming fix. Here are some of them. Quite interesting, I picked this one up, this old PC Gamer, and this is from way back when, 1996 or 5. And that looks like virtual reality there, which, wow, is actually happening next year. So they got it right, but they were a bit bloody early. You know, yes, there were deadlines in print magazines as there are today, but we don't have the 24-hour news cycle that we have now. Those were just a glimmer on the horizon. It is certainly now, thanks to digital delivery, far easier to disseminate information and materials on the games I work on, but delivery alone doesn't guarantee coverage. While we may have more outlets that cover games, there are also far more platforms which games are being developed for and on, and as a result, more games being developed and more games needing PR and promotion in order to get sales. So here are obviously some of the platforms that people are releasing games on at the moment. Oculus VR's there. I haven't included Morpheus or PlayStation VR at this point in time, but you know, those things are coming along with Vive as well. That's on the right-hand side. I probably could have done about 5 slides just with different outlets that cover video games. So it's now not just specialised sites that cover video games. It's obviously the likes of Shortlist, Guardian, and others who, you know, now that video games have become a mainstream art form and are talked about in those places that we read, that other people read, that aren't just video game fans. So, long story short, it's a very, very crowded landscape. And this is where PR comes in. Getting your client's message to the right channels. So how does someone like me make sure the titles that I represent get the coverage that a client is expecting? Sometimes it's really easy. You know, you only have to mention the words GTA, Destiny, Star Wars, or any other mega franchises, and the coverage just appears, you know, because they're huge and people want to read about those things. But what if you were charged with securing coverage for the first title from a small independent team? Big Pharma, right? This is a game that I've been working on recently. It's produced by one guy in Bristol called Tim Wicksteed. Okay, it's actually his second game, but right, the first one was on Android. No one really knew about it. And it's a management sim game based in the world of the pharmaceutical industry. This is where PR can really demonstrate what it's good for and utilise all the channels that we now have at our disposal. This is the time when you have a game that's small and niche to get under the skin of that game, find the angles, the stories that are going to persuade the journalist to write about your game, and ultimately inform their readers, who in turn will hopefully buy the bloody thing. This is the time to identify the streamers. Yes, these guys and girls are now another crucial part of the PR mix. They may cover the title. Often a Let's Play video can have a greater impact on registrations, downloads and sales than a piece in a print magazine or an online publication like Rock Paper Shotgun or PC Gamer or PC Games N. You know, it may be tempting to go after the likes of Syndicate or KSI, right? They're huge. They've got, you know, gazillions of followers and they get millions of views per video. But the likelihood of them covering a game like Big Pharma is incredibly remote. Don't waste your time and don't waste, you know, theirs either. Identify the streamer in the same way that you'd identify a journalist. Look at what the type of games that they regularly play on the Let's Play channel, in the same way that certain writers will on media outlet sites will specialise in racing games or FPSs. So, you know, it's just the same thing. It's just the same skill set, understanding your audience, and ultimately that's where you need to go first. Now, talking of streamers, Northern Lion, you may have heard of him. He doesn't have the same number of subscribers as KSI or Syndicate, but he's got, you know, around about 590,000. So he does have a substantial audience. And in this case, he's the kind of guy who plays strategy games and indie titles. We got him a copy of the game when it was still in early access, and the sales spike on the back of that was huge of his Let's Play video. Let's just put it this way. The developer, Twice Circled, were very, very happy. You know, so the power now of the streamer to influence sales, you could argue is, you know, as important, if not more important, than the existing or the traditional media outlets that we already, you know, and I've been using for a number of years. It's also a time to explore other opportunities in media that normally wouldn't cover video games, but where there's a relevant link. You know, in the case of Big Pharma, what this meant was scientific and pharmaceutical journals. Now, they don't normally cover games, but Big Pharma represented something that could be of interest to them, you know, because that's their sector. and it's something a bit different to give their readers than normal, research findings on a certain pill or whatever. So it's not always going to work, but try it. Explore those different avenues that are open to you. Look. Don't be narrow-minded in where you look to place your stories and gain coverage for a client. Broaden your horizons and see what other opportunities are out there. Finally, don't forget social channels. Obviously, this is something that's come to the fore a great deal in recent years. Sadly, my tweets to GlaxoSmithKline and AstraZeneca and Pfizer didn't get any bloody response. But you know what? It took me 30 seconds to do that. If that had got retweeted by the likes of those guys with their ridiculous following, all good. Even worse was that Snow, do you remember the song Informer? This guy? I should have brought a sound file. Anyway, we rewrote his lyrics for him, and he didn't like it. He just did not like it. I was very, very upset. But hey, look, you win some, you lose some, But again, these are little things that don't take long, bit of fun, and as long as you've got a client who's happy for you to mess around with their brand or franchise. Now, I probably could not have done this with Star Wars Battlefront or Destiny or Lego or a Lego game, because it was all about the brand and maintaining the brand identity. But with a game like Big Pharma, an independent developer, we spoke to him first. He's like, yeah, go for it, have some fun. Games are fun, right? So we shouldn't always be just boring. So, pay for an advert and you know exactly when it will appear and exactly what it will say. PR is very different to that. But when you see a positive article or video posted that you made happen as a PR person, to me, that's way more satisfying than having written a check to a media outlet and got an ad placed. And I would actually argue it's far more powerful than straight advertising. When you have the editorial influence coming into play, so you've got the readers who value the opinions of their particular favourite author or their particular favourite website, then that to me is much, much more powerful than a straight advert that says, buy this. Because you all know that the company has paid for that advert. But, with PR, you haven't paid the journalist. Gamergate doesn't exist, by the way. You've done it. You've made it there. And that opinion of those journalists is far, far more powerful than straight advertising. So, yes, I'm naturally an advocate of PR because it's kept me clothed for 20 odd years. So, the title, I'm going to be really short here. The title of this presentation was PR, yeah, what is it good for? Those of you familiar with Edwin Starr's classic from 1970, which I have somewhat misappropriated, will know that the next line is, well, listen, I don't believe that when it comes to PR. Yes, PR is often much maligned, and I know I'm biased, but I think the following is far more accurate. So, PR is a good deal if it's done well. And I think that's the important thing. It's very easy just to sort of push stuff out there and hope it will stick. But you need a story. You need an angle. You need something that's going to get the journalist interested. Because believe me, every day they receive hundreds of emails from people like me saying, write about my game. And too many of the time, they just boom, in the bin. They're not interested. But if you've got a human interest story, if you've got stars that are associated with the game, a voice actor that is famous. So for instance, I'm working on a game called Caretaker right now, that's just in Steam Green Light, and that features David Hewlin from Stargate Atlantis, doing the narration for the game. So there's an angle, and this guy, David's willing to do interviews. So we've got another way of securing coverage for the game above and beyond the game itself. And not only that, in the case of Caretaker, we've got an opportunity to tap into the Stargate Atlantis audience, which is massive, because they love that guy, and he's associated with that game. So by default, anything he does, inside or outside of the Stargate universe, is of interest to them. So think about it. It's always going back to the game. What is the game about? How can you take bits from that game, be it the story, be it the characters, be it who created it, be it what platform it's on? Has it got an innovative control method? Is it the first ever game to use VR? Whatever it might be. But find those points of difference that make the game stand out from everything else out there. Because believe me, there's a lot of FPSs out there. There's a lot of sports games out there. But why is one better than the other? It's up to the, it's the job of PR to highlight those differences, highlight those things that make your title, your client's title, stand out from the rest. So, yeah, look, I thought it was supposed to take half an hour, and I've whizzed through it in about 20 minutes. So I don't know if that leaves me some time to answer any questions you might have. I'm willing to do so. If you've got any questions, shoot. Hello. Resident Evil 4. I was lucky enough to work at Capcom for 13 years, so I worked on a lot of Resident Evil games, and yeah, that one, I think because it just sort of, it stood out. It kind of redefined the third-person shooter, and it was a great game. Oh, what else? First Devil May Cry as well was a great game as well for me that I worked on. Anyone else? Yeah, hi. Have I? Oh no. Trying to think of, gosh. I can tell you one that was bloody awful. When I was at Sega, there was a game. I worked at Sega back in the days of sort of 32X and Saturn, and there was a game on Saturn called Baku Baku Animal, which was kind of a bit like sort of a Tetris kind of rip-off type thing, with animals ate carrots, and go find it, it's fun. And someone persuaded me, who was a foolish, naive young man at the time, to, you know, like the white horse that's on the hillside in, wherever that is, Shropshire, yeah? And they said, oh, we'll do this thing where we'll recreate that, but with these Baku Baku animals, like this giant panda's head. And it'll get loads of traffic because it's on the side of a motorway, and it'll get loads of sort of, you know, pickup from national press because there's something crazy that's happened. Zero. In the same way that, you know, there was a sort of a penchant for floating things down the Thames or projecting onto, you know, the side of the Tower of London or the Houses of Parliament. You know, those things were great. They're great once, but don't do them again because someone's already done them, and the likelihood is you're not going to get any pickup. It's going to be a waste of money. Let me think about. Absolutely not. No, it was just a big bloody head. Yeah, you're quite right. It was a bloody waste of time and money. But someone in some marketing company, fooled me well, as they tend to do. I mean, good. You know, we had one of the recent things we did was with EA for Dragon Age, and the strapline for that game was "Lead them or fall," and so we put together a kind of, I suppose you'd call it a medieval It's a Knockout, where we got teams of real people to compete in sort of crazy little archery and throwing the axe and things like that at this Warwick Castle. And then that was all filmed on Twitch, and it was good stuff. And so yeah, we had Twitchers who were involved in that, and they posted it on their channels, and that was good. I did a good PR event for Resident Evil Revelations 2, where the game, what was that? That was so, the strapline for that game was "Evil is watching." And so we hired a TV studio, a real life TV studio. We created a set within that TV studio. And effectively, the media and community guys and girls that came along to that event were the stars of the show. So they sat on the set to play the game, and we filmed them the whole time in a kind of like quite eerie Big Brother style. And then that was broadcast around all the screens in the room, so that they were playing and always felt like they were being watched. And yeah, it was quite spooky actually. Yeah, there we go. There's a few off the top of my head. Anyone else? Yeah. How do I do with bad PR? Oh, I turn off my phone. No, that's a good question. So an example of that would be, so I went again, because I spent so long at Capcom, I'm going to come back to Capcom. Resident Evil 5, when the first trailer for that game was released, it got quite a lot of backlash because you had Chris running around with his machine gun shooting Africans in the head and all the other body parts, and Capcom was deemed racist by a number of media outlets. And that was hard, because those of us inside Capcom who knew the story of the game realised that wasn't the case. You know, that in the game there are lots of different people within the game, and they're infected, and they may be black, they may be white, they may be from Europe. Well, it doesn't matter. They were all in, it was this kind of melting pot of people. And we in the West, in the PR team, wanted to give more information about the story and the characters and what happened, so that we could say, well, look, this is why. We've shown you a snapshot, but over here's all the real stuff, the bigger picture. The guys in Japan, the developers, didn't want to do that, because they wanted to do this they had a very clever plan. We're going to drip, drip, drip feed information over the course of 18 months till the game comes out, and we don't want to give any secrets away. After many, many long video conferences with Japan, we finally persuaded them that, okay, well, let's just get a couple of these guys who are very vocal about this and take them in. So we took them over to Japan and we sat them down, and we took them through a bit more of the game and tried to explain more face to face what was going on. And actually sat down with the developers rather than hearing it from a PR voice, which can always be a bit of a spin. They actually heard it from the devs themselves. And again, we probably didn't get the full story across, because there was still some reticence or reluctance, I should say, on behalf of the devs to give out that information as much as we wanted. But it definitely went a long way into sort of at least calming it down. Yeah, that was a bad period of my life, and one I don't really want to repeat. So I'm going to stay away from Japanese developers for a while. Anyone else? Yes. Yes.
How did you deal with that?
God, I might have to give a secret away now. There's probably no one here from the company I'm about to talk about, so I can get away with it. When I first joined Indigo about 18 months ago, we got contacted by an iOS developer in China who had this, oh my God, this strategy World War II game. It wasn't World War II, it was an alternate World War II, and it wasn't Hitler, it was the evil leader, and it was just monetized up to the yin yang. As soon as you clicked on it, you were kind of being told to buy gold, and the worst localization I've ever seen in a game by a long shot. And I personally, this is awful, I can't believe I'm saying this, I wanted to walk away, because it was like, there is an old adage, you can't polish a turd, right? And believe me, this was a stinking heap of shit. And this is going out live.
Not this room.
However, someone else in my company decided that we should just take their money, and we did, let's just say we didn't get much coverage for it. We didn't try very hard. And I think there are times when the best advice you can give somebody is don't bother, because, it's there. Ultimately, they're spending it. They want to spend money. And, what I did do was, we did a bit of PR work for it, I'm not going to lie. but I also spent a long time writing a very big critique of their game for them and told them what was wrong with it, and said, well, look, you know, here's my advice as someone who plays games in the West, where you're trying to launch a game that is so not right for the Western market. So yeah, look, honesty is often the best policy. You might want to, you know, sprinkle a little bit of PR dust on it, but you know, try and be as transparent as you can, whether that be with the media, whether that be with clients, because ultimately they will respect that. You know, if you bullshit them, you know, you'll get away with it once, but they ain't going to come back. So, and I think it's especially true of media. You know, they don't want to be made fools of. So, yeah. Anyone else? Yes, there. Yeah, yeah. No, we do work with a number of them. Some of them we'll go directly to. A lot of them now have agents. Yeah, would you believe it? Like, because these guys are making millions of dollars. You know, you know, they sell T-shirts, they sell merchandise. That, you know, they're getting thousands a day from advertising revenue. They are, you know, rich kids, and I wish I was younger. And damn, I'm not. So. Yes, some directly, others we'll work with through their agents, and you know that may involve some money exchanging hands. But we're very upfront about that as well, and we'll make sure that any of the YouTubers or streamers we work with put that, you know, in their information about the about box at the bottom of their video, or alternatively have a message, you know, at the beginning of the stream or the video that says, "Hi, you know, this video was made in conjunction with Blair." You know, so again, you know, that talks to that transparency issue. That, you know, if I'm a regular viewer of a particular streamer, you know, I'm trusting that guy. I value their opinion, or I enjoy what they do. And if suddenly this sort of big corporate message is being rammed down my throat without any explanation, then I'm going like, well, you know. But I think as a viewer, you understand these guys are businessmen, right? They're doing it. They're not just, you know, they work very hard to, you know, to create the content they do. Some more than others, I agree, but you know, the top guys really do work hard to maintain, you know, to continue to deliver that content on a sort of weekly, daily basis. So, well played them.
I have one more question.
Yeah, go on. Yeah. So things like evil is watching or lead them or fall, they're quite useful nowadays, more so because they go well in tweets if they're nice and short and you can use them as a hashtag. I think if you can find a way of encompassing, you know, your game in a very, you know, short sentence, then that's great because it's easily memorable. Whereas if it's a long paragraph telling you that a knight of old went foraging and blah, 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 then, oh, sorry, I've fallen asleep. But if it's, you know, knight kills things, then, you know, with bloody great axe, then, you know, I know what I'm going to do. And hopefully you'll go and buy the game with a knight with a bloody great axe.
That's great. Okay.
Is that it?
Yes, that's it.
That was it. That was easy. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Do that, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah. Apart from the Watford bit, that's true.